Hello, welcome to another episode of the Box to Box podcast. Today we're going to be talking to another fan of a team in which I don't support or follow, and they're going to be teaching me the ways of the club they know and love. Today we're going to be bringing on a guest who's been requested a lot by the one person. It is my stepbrother, Ben. How are we doing, mate?
Yeah, not bad, man. Yourself?
Yeah, mate, I'm all good, Ben's going to be on here and he'll be teaching us the ways of the team he knows and loves, which is Arsenal FC.
Yeah, well, I'll certainly try.
Obviously, starting off, you are my stepbrother. So obviously, you do live near me. We do live from Nottingham.
I do.
Arsenal is a London-based team. How long have you supported the team, and what made you choose Arsenal?
It's a difficult one to put a date on it, but I know it's the reason why I went for Arsenal as my team was, or the reason I remember is I remember when I was quite young watching. I believe it was an FA Cup match, and I think it was against Manchester United, but I could be completely wrong.
Yeah.
Kind of around 2005, 2006 sort of time. And I'm not from a footballing household, so this was with my granddad. I was watching it, and he just says to me, "Pick a team," and I picked Arsenal. And from then on, it just so happened that was the team that I knew. It wasn't until I got into football a little bit more when I understood, more about the rivalries and things like that, and I kind of started following them a little bit more. And then I'd say, as a proper fan, probably 10 or 11 years.
Yeah, fair play, mate. Fair play. So within them 10 or 11 years of you properly following and supporting Arsenal, what's been your best memory to date?
Well, I think the moment where it looked like we had some kind of future to look forward to again. I would say the 2014 FA Cup final. I remember watching it. It was against Hull. Went to extra time. Aaron Ramsey scored the winner in extra time, and we went on to win the cup. And I think that's probably the happiest moment I can say as a fan. And then obviously repeating the year after that.
Yeah.
And we've won it a couple of times since as well. So
Yeah, I put a little bit of a note down. Obviously not being a Arsenal fan myself. I thought I'd have a look at a bit of the history of the last 10 or so years. And yeah, that exact moment stood out to me. Winning the FA Cup 2014. It was your first trophy in over 9 years as well. So it was good to kind of get a bit of silverware back into Arsenal. Get back into the stadium, back to the club. Got the fans going again. Got a bit of belief put back into the team. But obviously, it was a whole game in the final. But it wasn't as easy as a run as it should have been going up to that final. In the semis, you had Wigan. No. You beat them on penalties.
They're holders.
Yeah.
Yeah, Wigan were the holders of the FA Cup.
Yeah. So on paper, you think, oh yeah, Arsenal against Wigan. But like I said, the holders, they took you to penalties, but you got through to the final against Hull. Down 2-0 as well. Brought that back to 3-2. So I put a lot of belief.
2-0. Yeah, 2-0 within the first 10 minutes.
Was it?
So,
first 10 minutes?
It was in the first 10 minutes. But we dominated the game. The first half, we had like 66% possession, I believe. So, we definitely, I think, deserved that win. And it took us into extra time to get it. It doesn't matter how you win; it's winning that matters, and we did.
Yeah,
and
definitely.
The thing is, that was the first bit of silverware that we won since we'd moved to the Emirates. So it was looking like the start of a bright future. Unfortunately, we've not got to the level where we would like to, and have in fact regressed in the last couple of years. But
okay, getting on to the regression of Arsenal. Let's touch on this season, shall we? I think it's been one of the worst starts to the season for Arsenal, which I can remember. You dropped to about 15th or 16th. There was a bit of a talk of a relegation battle at the start of the season. Did you actually believe that Arsenal was going to get relegated, and how bad of a season really was the start of it?
If you had asked me how the season, what my thoughts of this season were around Christmas time, I probably would have started crying on the podcast, spitting my dummy out, throwing my toys out the pram. It was woeful. It was an absolutely awful, awful start to the season, especially with some of the signings that we brought in. Gabriel obviously arrived to us, who has been a bit of a breath of fresh air, really,
Definitely in that
and
back
Thomas
line,
Partey as well. Yeah, but the performances were very, very poor. Mikel Arteta was, fans wanted his head on the chopping block, wanted him to be sacked. I think we made the right decision, or the club made the right decision in sticking with him, sticking with the players that we've got. And being patient, because if you look at it since Christmas and the New Year, we've looked really positive, and I can see more positives than I can negatives now, which is good.
I
and
agree
again,
as well.
it's looking to a bright future.
Yeah, I agree with that as well. As an outsider, I genuinely wrote Arsenal off completely. When he dropped down to that 16th, and it wasn't like it was 2 games into the season you dropped down to 16th. It was a good chunk into the season you was down that low. I properly wrote Arsenal out of it. I thought they can't. I thought they haven't got the power to now bring anyone in January. I think they just looked. Everything just looked lethargic. The football looked awful. Aubameyang just didn't look half the player he was the season before. I really did think that it was done for Arsenal. I thought it was going to take some real either investment or maybe another manager or something to really give this team a change and a big turnaround. But what was it in this season, after, say, Christmas time, do you think it was that actually turned this Arsenal team around and put them back into 10th place?
Well, the diplomatic answer, you'd like to think it's the manager. Mikel Arteta, we've been patient with him. He has got the defence playing a lot better.
Yes.
Because for the last 10 or so, probably last 13 years, really, the Arsenal defence has never been up to the standard where it needs to be. Arsenal's always been a free-flowing attacking team, and that's not really changed in the last few managers that we've had. Obviously Wenger, Emery, and now Arteta.
Mm-hmm.
But he's certainly learnt lessons whilst he's been at Man City under Pep. And the way he's got the defence playing out from the back. Sometimes we look shaky when we do that. But I think generally we're keeping compact, we're keeping the shape, and we're doing quite well. And it's shocking to say that David Luiz is quite possibly our best defender this season. I mean, if you look at the stats, Rob Holding would actually be the best centre-back. But I think if you look at it in games, the fairly inconsistent David Luiz seems to be the man leading us from the back. But I think the real answer, the person that has made a huge difference and created a big spark since probably since the winter kind of break, is Bukayo Saka.
Definitely.
I mean, he's such a breath of fresh air. Fights for every opportunity, fights for the ball wherever he can, constantly involved in chances and goals. And now we're seeing Aubameyang get back into the team. Lacazette's looking fairly strong as well. So it's all positives.
Definitely.
And I look forward to where we're going to finish at the end of the season.
Yeah. I want to get quickly your opinion on the signing of Odegaard on loan in January. Do you think it was a good signing? Do you want him to potentially extend his loan or even further sign for the club?
Yeah, of course. I mean, getting a Real Madrid wonder kid who, I think he's played something like 6 games or something, or it might be 16
stupidly
games
low
for Real
in
Madrid.
it, yeah.
Something really low, yeah. But his time away, such as like last season at Real Sociedad, he's performed great, and he's got better year after year. He doesn't look like a young wonder kid, future prospect star that's flopped. He does look like he's becoming a very, very good footballer. And I think for Arsenal to have the opportunity to have someone like that there this season is a positive, not just because of the way he plays, but what he can bring to the players around him. Someone like Emile Smith-Rowe can learn a lot from Martin Odegaard, who is probably more realistically going to be our future kind of number 10 player. Odegaard will end up going back to Madrid. I have no doubt about it. If we could keep him for longer, then yeah, of course. What team wouldn't want a player like that there?
True.
But I think he will end up going back. But no, definitely, it was a fantastic acquisition, and it begs the question: if we had somebody else coaching the team, would he have been attracted to go there? Mikel Arteta is a rookie manager, but maybe rookie manager has a bit more in common with a rookie player. I don't know.
I see what you mean. I think people forget that Odegaard came onto the scene as a 15-year-old. It feels like he's been around for years and years and years, and that's why people are starting to associate him as a bit of a flop. But it's just because he's been around for so long. He hasn't really been given a proper chance. He hasn't fully progressed into the peak of his powers. He's still a young player.
Exactly. I think he's 21?
Yeah, 21, 22. Yeah, he's still extremely young.
And bear in mind, Arsenal is probably the first, kind of top team. And I know, obviously, we're not in a top team position being 10th at the moment. But, as far as a name of club, we're probably the first top team that is going to get some real game time for.
Yeah.
So for him, more than anything, I hope that his loan does get extended and he gets a full season and we get to really see what he is made of. But I think he will end up going back to Real Madrid and he will end up being the replacement to the likes of Isco there. I think that's probably going to be his future.
I agree.
To be honest with you.
I agree. I think it was a very good signing for Arsenal to make. They definitely needed a bit more of an experienced creator in the middle of that midfield. I just wish it was a bit longer. I feel like bringing a player in January on loan for 6 months is one of the worst ways you can look at. Like, you can't judge. There's no way you can judge how good Odegaard is off this 6 months. He hasn't had the time to adapt to the squad. He hasn't had the time to adapt to the league. Like, in a bit of pre-season, you play a few games with your team. You get to know him. You get to learn a bit more about the league and the kind of opponents you're facing. Which coming in January, and they should be being played 2 weeks after he signed. You can't properly judge him off it because he hasn't got the experience of it. So I just wish that, I really do hope that they bring him in for at least half a season, if not another season, and then maybe take him back or put an obligation to buy in there. But I think he does need at least a fresh start for Arsenal, coming end of the season, get another pre-season with him, and then start him off in the Premier League after adjusting and having a bit of experience. I really think we can see Odegaard shine.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a little bit of a bittersweet signing, if you like, because on one hand, great, we've got a player such as Martin Odegaard in on loan. He's going to really be helpful. However, at the time, we had Emile Smith-Rowe playing in that position, who was bossing it.
Yeah.
He was doing so well. Obviously now he's got that hip injury, and it doesn't look like he's going to return this season. Or if he does, it'll be right towards the end of the season. So, that's obviously not. It's kind of worked in Odegaard's favour, if you like, and in the fans' eyes, it's not like he's coming in and stepping on anyone's toes. But that's another thing. It's all about mentality. A player such as Odegaard is a young player, has been moved around a lot. That's got to affect you mentally,
Oh, definitely.
Make you question your ability, possibly.
Especially signing for Real Madrid so young and then not playing for him and being loaned out. And again, you said it's going to affect him mentally because he was such a high signing for Real Madrid. Obviously, you weren't expecting first team football every week, but I don't think he thought it'd take him this many years to definitely put a cement in place in that Real Madrid starting lineup, especially when it's getting so old as well. Zidane just loves his set lineup and just loves his older people. Like, they've signed so many younger players, and Zidane just doesn't.
They don't get the opportunity.
Yeah, don't get the opportunity to play him. That they're still rocking the midfield of Kroos and Modric. And don't get me wrong, they're class players, but they're coming to the end of the career now, 35 plus on both of them. I think give some youngsters a run. Like there's no harm in doing that. And these youngsters ain't going to get as good as Truce and Modric if you don't give them the time and just start playing them when they come 25, 26 because they've missed them developing years.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, I think Ødegaard's good signing.
Definitely, yeah. So I want to touch back to the season. At the time of recording this, Arsenal have just come off a 3-1 win to Leicester, which looked, on paper you think, wow, that's a big result. And it is a big result, a big 3 points for Arsenal. Obviously, Leicester were quite injury struck. They haven't got some of the key players are out injured. But on the flip side, Arsenal played a very weaker side against Leicester. And I was shocked to see that they brought it back. They went 1-0 down. I was laughing. I thought this is just classic Arsenal. But then they brought it back to
Arsenal,
they brought it back to 3-1. I think that was a really big result for them.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I watched the game. It was great to see Arsenal win and come out on top, and we did look strong. We never took our foot off the gas. I think it was a sign of our intent to, in like the 81st minute, I think it was, we took Lacazette off, who'd scored the penalty, and brought Aubameyang on. We brought on our probably our best player, well, definitely our best player, to come on in a game that's already 3-1 in the last 9 minutes. I think that signals that we're not stopping, we're not going to slow down, we're going to keep the pressure on Leicester. And we did, and we won quite comfortably in the end. Yes, they were out without some key players. Jamie Vardy looked uncomfortable throughout the whole game. They were missing James Maddison. I think
Justin's out, Fofana's out, I think.
Yeah.
Barnes as well.
Barnes went off injured, so, it's not quite cut as the stats would tell you, but a win's a win at the end of the day.
Exactly. I just want to touch on your opinion of Nicolas Pepe. Obviously, the club's record signed at 72 million. He started off really well in his debut. I think he got a few goals. He looked really promising. He's took a massive dip from there, and I'm one to have slated him, I'll admit, and I think there's a few other Arsenal fans out there that have definitely slated him. Just mainly for the price that you've paid and the fact that for 10 mil more you could have gone out and get Zaha. But he's really come out his shell recently, and he's really been performing. He's been putting performance out. Do you think that what's turned Pepe around? Do you think he's turned to a decent signing for you?
Yeah, I mean, I was exactly the same. I remember watching his first appearance. He made a few keen dribbles on the ball, and it looked exciting. However, at the time, I remember thinking, is this going to work in the Premier League? The fancy flicks, when players come in from abroad and they tend to do that, yeah, they're good at looking flashy. However, they tend to get outdone physically.
Yep.
And I think we saw a lot of that from Pepe. And then as time went on, he looked more and more unsettled. He didn't look comfortable playing. And again, I think it's a testament to Arteta. Has really got him comfortable in the team, got him involved more. Same as he has with someone like Willian, who, not that long ago, I was slating and saying that, we never ever should have signed him. Yes, he was free, but his contract's high, and the other. But last few games, he's played his socks off because Arteta has forced him to get involved more, forced the ball to him. He's not just him out. It's not just not let him get involved. He's got put him to work, and I think he's the same with Pepe. He's persevered through, and Pepe now is starting to look more settled, more relaxed, more keen to play.
Yep.
And he's doing really well. Like we were saying with Ødegaard, it takes time to settle in. Takes a lot of time to settle in sometimes, and
that's always a bad thing. It doesn't always mean they're a bad player. It takes time to settle in.
No, absolutely not. And hopefully we can see Pepe shine as this £75 million signing. I think including fees, his value is like over 82 million. Yeah. So that's our club's record signing, which is
big signing.
Is crazy, really. At the time, and possibly still now, I didn't and maybe still don't agree that was the right signing to spend that money on.
Yeah.
When we've been crying out for a top centre back for so many years now. See a defensive midfielder as well. Hopefully, when he comes back gets back into the swing of things, back from his injury, Tom can play that role as midfielder. We've got Gabriel. We need someone alongside him that can be a future, number one picked centre back in the team, and things can start looking up.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, we've touched on the current season. I was going to talk to you now about the Europa League and that cup run. Obviously, Arsenal haven't had that many trophies in recent time, a few FA Cups, but nothing too significant. Wait, did you win the Europa League?
No, we got to the final against Chelsea.
Yeah, I thought so. So the Europa League would be a big push for Arsenal, I see, this season. Do you agree?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's got to be the goal. I think we're out of the FA Cup now. We got eliminated by Southampton.
Yes.
So we have kind of got to put all our eggs in one basket and go for the Europa League. I think it's well within our grasp.
Well, yeah, you've got Olympiacos in the round of 16, which if I remember right, they knocked you out last season, I think it was. But this season, I reckon you should be getting through them this season, getting to the round of 8. I think you've really got a good run. Like you said, you're at the FA Cup. You haven't got that to focus on. The league, there's no point pushing, really. There's that many teams in contention for top 4. I think it's going to be hard for Arsenal to fight for top 4 and get Europa. I think the best thing for Arsenal to do is put all the focus in the Europa League, because they do have a good shout of winning it. The only people in the competition that I think actually could put Arsenal up for a fight for winning it is AC Milan, United, and maybe Ajax. But I don't think Ajax have got it anymore. They've just got a lot of spirit behind them. But I don't think they've got what it takes to win the Europa League. And it's between Milan, AC Milan, and United. And obviously they face each other in the same round. So one of them's going to be out. So I think as soon as you reach one of these two teams, that's when it's really going to be an issue. But Arsenal definitely do have the talent and the oomph to win this tournament.
Yeah, I mean, I think we should at the very least be reaching the final. If we come up against Manchester United in the final, then I think it would be a very interesting game. And I think, to be honest, it would be quite an even game, because Arsenal would definitely field their strongest team.
Yes.
Because that's all we've got at the minute. Whereas United are still fighting for that top 4 position in the league to stay there. So, be interesting what key games are scheduled around that, and how that would affect United if they got to the final. However, I think if we came up against AC Milan, it'd probably end up being a loss, because they are this season looking so good. I think they're still first in Serie A.
Yeah, I think it's even. I don't know whether Inter Milan has just took over in the last few weeks or so, but they're definitely top 3. They're playing really well. So it's been a really good run in Italy. Yeah. Been a really good run in Italy.
So but
definitely. I also think going back to the AC Milan point about you saying it's going to be a loss. I think with Arsenal coming up against another European giant is going to be what kind of throws them off a little bit. I think playing against English teams regularly it's okay. Playing against some of the lower foreign teams, I think they'll get through. But I think if they come against another foreign giant, as in AC Milan, I reckon it could really throw them off. They're not used to the football. They've got a little bit more flair about them. They've got some really good players. I think that's what. If Arsenal are going to lose, it'd be to Milan.
Yeah, and I don't think any Arsenal fan could sit here and say that we should be winning that game.
No,
not any sensible Arsenal fan anyway.
Yeah,
it's. I think United, we can put up a fight and we could possibly win it.
I
believe we should have done against Chelsea, to be honest.
Yeah.
That was a woeful performance.
I mean, you've played United twice in the league. You've beaten once and drew to them the second time.
Absolutely.
There's something about that game that both teams just changed mentality. Like, they don't compare to the teams that we see for the rest of the league for some unknown reason. It's just like two different Manchester United and Arsenal come out to play that game.
Yeah, I think United play to try and not lose because it'd be almost embarrassing to play to lose to Arsenal. Because I think Arsenal kind of think, well, we're gonna go and try and win. We'll go all out and try and win. Because why not?
Yep.
So I think that's probably the key difference you see between the two.
Definitely. So if you're going to make a prediction now, a realistic prediction, what would you say in regarding Arsenal?
What, towards the end of this season?
Let's make a prediction for the Europa League. How do you think that's going to go?
Well, the Europa League, I think final, and I think we can finish runners up. I don't think we'll win it, to be honest with you, but I think we've got the quality to get to the final.
Yep.
And finish as runners up.
Yeah, I think that's a pretty good estimate. So I'm going to brush over now to a few of your players for the season. And first, I'm going to start off with your best player of the season. So I went over to FIFA before we recorded this. I had a bit of a check out to see what they said your best player was. Obviously, it's rated off last season's players and how they performed last season. So it does say that obviously Aubameyang is your highest rated player, 87 rated. How would you say his season's been so far?
Well, I mean, he's got 8 goals, I think, this season.
22.
Behind Lacazette.
Yeah, 22 games, isn't it? 8 goals, 22 games.
So something like that. First half of the season, he was quite non-existent.
Yeah, definitely.
He signed his new bumper contract end of last season. He signed the thing, and since then he's kind of looked a bit lackluster. He spent some time away because of some personal issues he's been having to deal with, some family things, and since he's come back, he's looking like the Aubameyang of old again. He's getting involved, he's pushing the opposition, and he's looking dangerous. So long may that continue.
Yeah, if you look at the stats here, last season he played 36 games, got 22 goals and 3 assists. So 25 goal contributions in 36 games is a fantastic output. Obviously, this season, 9 goal contributions in 22 games is not as good. But I think if he carried on the form that he is in now, obviously after coming back after the family issues, he could be putting up some fantastic numbers. A lot of them goals have come after that at that time. So if he kept that up for the whole season, he could be looking at some seriously good numbers here.
Absolutely. I mean, he's won the Golden Boot before. I think he's been in contention for it pretty much every year since he signed for Arsenal.
Oh, definitely.
So he is he's a top talent. And don't forget, there's 2 strikers at Arsenal, 2 marquee strikers. And Aubameyang tends to play on the left wing.
What's your opinion on that?
When Lacazette's playing, so I think you can't underestimate how good Aubameyang has been.
Yeah, what's your opinion on him playing off the left?
It's not his best position. He should start striker, but if you start him striker, you can't really play Lacazette anywhere else. So if you want to get them both in, you've got to play Aubameyang on the left. Now, personally, if you'd asked me this time last year, I would have been saying, sell Lacazette, get rid of him, get him off the books, use that money to sign a centre-back.
Yeah, I agree.
At the minute, however, we've had to rely on him, and you know what? He's played really well.
He scored some crucial goals for you.
Exactly. I can't remember who it was. I saw some interview from somebody a few weeks back, and it was talking about kind of young player development in Arsenal, and the 2 names that stood out there was Lacazette and David Luiz for helping the young players, come on and get them involved and being there for the youngsters to learn from. So, there's a lot of other things to being a professional footballer other than just your performances on the pitch. And I think as professionals, they're very good people to have in the club.
Definitely. So we've brushed on who FIFA thinks the best player is, and before we get into who you think Arsenal's best player of the season is, I just want to put out who I think Arsenal's best player has been.
Okay.
I looked at obviously a few stats and just been watching the Arsenal games. Obviously, I still keep up to date with them being in the Premier League. And we briefly spoke of his name earlier, but I think the best player for this season has been Bukayo Saka.
Mm.
I think he's literally carried this Arsenal team this season to coming back up from near the relegation zone up to that 10th spot again. He's got 7 goal contributions in 22 games this season, which is phenomenal. But I think it's just the energy and the creation and the commitment that he has on the pitch that really makes him shine. I think it's really what's Arteta's put his trust in Saka, and I think it's paying off. His energy has just made this Arsenal team just progress and come back and fight back, and they're doing really well. And he's definitely improved from last season as well. Obviously, he's playing a bit of a different position now, but he's got more he's got more goal contributions this season than he did last season in less games. Like I said, it is a different position, but I think the thing that made me realise that he's matured a lot is the fact that last season he had 6 yellow cards, and this season he's got none. And I think that's a really good representation of how a young player is developing and maturing. When he was a little bit younger, obviously only a year, but players that have the serious talent can mature very quickly. And I think showing that he's got no yellow cards this season, showing he's not brushing into challenges, he's understood the game a lot more. I think last season was his breakout season, and he's learned a lot from it, and he's definitely implemented him to be how good of a player he is today. So yeah, I think that's really a good showing of how he's matured. But who do you think Arsenal's best player has been this season?
Got to be Bukayo Saka. I don't think you'd hear many arguments from fans. You know, I think we've seen him kind of primarily play as a left mid this season. Sometimes right wing. Obviously, Pepe tends to be playing there, so. But he's excelled. He's excelled in that wide man role, cutting in, getting involved, and long may that continue. He's been in the Premier League anyway, 22 matches, 5 goals, 2 assists. His average player rating's been a 7. He's one of the highest rated players in terms of player ratings.
He's consistent as well, yeah.
This season, and yeah, he's been consistent. You know, he's constantly popping up when it comes to contributions. Getting involved where it really matters, and yeah, I think probably since the very beginning of the season, he's done really well. I mean, the first of the season was that he played anyway. I think it was the West Ham game.
Yeah.
And he was, again, I think he was in contention for man of the match. I'm not sure whether he scored or got an assist or anything like that, but it was his involvement more than anything.
That's what I mean. Like, he's not putting out the numbers of like the best player in the league or whatever. Because obviously he's still young, you can't be expecting that. But it's one of them things that unless you watch, you don't understand. It's just the commitment and the energy he puts into every single game. Like I said, he's got a match rating of 7 across the whole season. That's incredible. I think
look at it like this. I look at it like, you know, when it's the loose ball, and when a lot of the other players will just, you know, kind of get back and, oh, right, okay, we've lost that now. He will carry on. He will run for that ball, which is something that he was doing last season, but he was probably going a little bit too hard, and hence why he was getting yellow cards.
Yeah.
This year, you know, he's a little bit more sensible with it, and he's putting in the runs and putting the pressure on as opposed to running in and doing a silly challenge. I'd say it proves how he's maturing as a professional.
What a player he is. I think Gareth Southgate's got some tough decisions to make regarding this Euro team.
Yeah.
He's got some phenomenal players.
Don't get me wrong, I'd love to see Saka in the Euros. You know, I think it would be a reward for how well he's played and the effort that he's put in. However, he's still only 18.
Yeah, I know.
You know, I don't think we should rush him into it, especially with the other players that Southgate's got to choose from. You know, James Maddison, Harry Winks, Jack Grealish, the Chelsea attacking midfielder Mason Mount.
I think the thing
You
with
know,
Saka is, obviously, there's been a few injuries regarding English players recently.
Mm.
I think the versatility of Saka is a big part of why Southgate could want to try and get him on the plane, even if he's not playing every game. I think having him on the bench, come in as a wing back, a full back, an attacking winger, I think it's a good bit of versatility that Southgate could implement quite well.
Yeah, because I mean, you look at other wide players that Southgate could put in there. He's got Rashford, he's got Sterling,
Sancho.
and he's got Jadon Sancho.
He doesn't get ahead of any of them in the attacking game, I don't think.
No, I don't think so either. But if you've got two of them playing, you've got one on the bench. You know, do you possibly need somebody else that can play in that position
True.
and another position if needed? Yeah, I'd probably say so.
Yeah.
Is Saka the player to fill that role? If you forgot his age, I'd say yes. Oh, I've just seen his age. He's 19 now.
19.
So
Yeah.
he's obviously recently had a birthday. So, yeah, I think he's such a talent. He deserves to get in there. But let's not rush it.
Yeah, I agree. I just want to brush on to this next point about the worst player for Arsenal this season. Again, I went to FIFA. I looked at who they said the lowest rated player was. And I like to look for who's the lowest rated player who's actually been playing first team football or in the squad. And you'll be surprised to hear that Emile Smith-Rowe is Arsenal's lowest rated player at 69 rated non-rare. But he's been a fantastic player for this season, hasn't he?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you can't look at it last season, and you can't look at his FIFA rating to judge him on how he's been playing this year. You know, he came on when we needed that creative midfielder. The big thing that we were lacking. I mean, I was one of the fans that were crying out for us to stick Özil in the team. You know, rightly or wrongly, he needed to be in the team. It was on contract. We needed some creativity in the midfield. We had Özil just sat there.
I want to get your view as an Arsenal fan. Why was he not in the team?
It's got to be something political, something behind the scenes.
That's what I've said as well.
I'm not sure whether it'd be between. Yeah, I'm not sure whether it'd be between him and Arteta. It could be between him, you know, someone in the board or whatever. But either way, there was something political that happened that forced them to say, no, that's it. He's not playing, and the first opportunity we get, we're getting rid of him. We're shipping him off.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's sad because of the contribution that he's made, you know, over the last, 6-7 years that he's been at the club.
Yeah.
But, you know, to not even him get a farewell game was disappointing. But, you know, best of luck to him. I hope that he does well at Fenerbahce. You know, it's I think that's the team that his family support. Because I think half of his family are Turkish, aren't they?
Yeah.
So, yeah, best of luck to him.
I think you can easily forget. Yeah, I think you can easily forget that he was the best creator in the Premier League a few seasons ago. Like he put up the most assists. He was the most creative player in the Premier League, and to think that it's just hit such a sudden decline, and it literally feels like he was putting up their numbers, dropped off to maybe still fantastic numbers, but not the best in the Prem, and then just disappeared, and just not even in the squad. That's what baffled me the most. He wasn't even in the squad. When Arsenal was crying out for a creative player, Mesut Ozil, who was one of the most creative players in the league at one point, wasn't even in your squad.
No, exactly.
That's just something a lot bigger than he's not good enough for the team, because he's definitely
exactly.
good enough for the team.
Well, he was certainly good enough. He was certainly good enough to at least sit on the bench. He's being paid anyway.
And lots of money as well. A lot of money. It's not like you're paying him a bit of wages to sit on the bench and just look pretty. Like, you're paying him a lot of wages to put an output on the pitch, and you didn't even include him. I think it's disrespectful.
No, like I say, we don't know what went off behind the scenes, and we may never find out. I'm sure we'll get revealed at some point. Secrets can't be kept for that long. You know, we all end up finding out who threw the slice of pizza at Fergie.
Exactly.
You know, that was Cesc Fabregas. So, and that was one of the worst kept secrets in football. So,
I think it will come out one day. I reckon it'll be a good few years before we find out.
Yeah, it'll be when everyone's retired. But I think I just said about Cesc Fabregas. I miss that team.
What a team
that
that was.
kind of the team where, well, obviously the Invincibles team is.
Yeah, that was an alright team, wasn't it, I suppose?
Yeah, well, they did okay.
Did the job.
The only golden Premier League trophy in existence, might I say.
What a
But no,
player Henry was as well. Oh my god.
yeah, well, the best player in Arsenal's history. Well, he's. See, this is something that I've got into debates before about. Actually, I think if you're looking at the best player to have played for Arsenal, you've got to say Thierry Henry. Right? He's the best overseas player, in my opinion, to have ever even played in the Premier League.
Yeah, he was the best player in the world for them few seasons. He was
For a good couple of years in the early 2000s. Yeah, he's definitely. I think it's criminal that he didn't win a Ballon d'Or.
It's beyond me how he did not win one.
When you think Michael Owen did and Thierry Henry didn't.
Yeah.
And
it was a young Michael Owen as well. It wasn't like...
I think he was 19.
Yeah.
So, it'd be like Bukayo Saka winning the Ballon d'Or. But, Thierry Henry, probably the best player. However, in my opinion, when I look at Arsenal's greatest ever player, I think Tony Adams, to be honest with you.
Really?
He's Mr. Arsenal. Second most all-time appearances for Arsenal. Premier League winning captain on a couple of occasions, I think. So, and kind of was a focal point of that defence and of the team when we transitioned into the Arsene Wenger era. I think he was crucial and key to that.
So you're saying that Tony Adams is your favourite player in Arsenal history?
No, I think he's the greatest. Because it depends how you measure greatness, but I think he's the greatest Arsenal player that the club's ever had. The best player that they've ever had is obviously Thierry Henry.
Yep.
And he's the record goal scorer for the team for a reason. But anyway, that's reminiscing on the glory days. If we're talking
about the glory days. Let's go to not so glorious. And who would you say Arsenal's worst player has been this season?
Well, if you'd asked me a few weeks ago, I would have said Willock. However, he's now playing really well. Don't rate El Neni. No, I really don't.
He scored one good goal for Arsenal this whole season. I think that's all he's done.
I think the worst player, it may be a bit harsh because of his age, but I think Eddie Nketiah.
Yeah. That's another point I was going to bring up. What is your opinion on Nketiah?
Yeah. He's just not good enough, and he won't be. He's 21 now. He should be starting to show up where it matters. This season he's appeared in 14 Premier League matches, scored 1 goal, he's got 1 assist. He's. I think what he reminds me of is somebody like a Lewis Grabban, who obviously now plays for Nottingham Forest. A very, very good Championship level player, but not quite good enough for the Premier League.
A bit like Dwight Gale. Yeah, a bit like a Dwight Gale.
Yeah, exactly. That kind of player. Could do really, really well in the Championship, but not in the Prem.
No, I agree. I think a lot of people speak well on him. Obviously, when he's played for England's under-21s, he's been phenomenal. He's put up some really good numbers. But I just don't think he's at the level of Arsenal, and I don't think he's at the level of the Premier League. I think he does need to go out. I think he needs to permanently move to a Championship team, in my opinion. Looking at someone else,
or at least have like a 2-year loan.
I think he needs. I think he doesn't need to go out for a half season or a season. He needs to go out for a decent amount of time, definitely. But then again, you look at that. He comes back at 23.
Yeah, exactly. I don't think, even if we did send him out on a 2-year loan, I don't think he would then come back and boom, that's it. Let's get him in the starting lineup. I don't think he's ever going to be at that level, to be honest with you.
I personally don't either. I don't at all.
So yeah, I as harsh as it sounds, I would say Eddie Nketiah, our worst player. Now, if we're looking at someone that's not a kid, if you like, someone that's not a youngster, someone that should have been better. It's a difficult one because we're obviously playing quite well now.
It's always hard to judge something like this when you could have listed a good bullet point of 10 names 3 months, 4 months ago. You could have said, well, I think all these, because it's when you're performing bad and there's a lot of names to blame.
Well, like I say, I would have said Willian, but I think, to be honest, I'm probably going to say Mohamed El Neni.
Okay.
You know, yeah, it's central defensive midfielder is the position that we've needed, and every game he's played, bar a game like right back at the beginning of the season, I think he did all right against Sheffield. I think it was like third or fourth game of the season.
Yep.
Since then, he's been absolutely woeful whenever he's appeared. By far and large, one of the worst players on the pitch. You know, I mean, he played against Leicester, and like I say, the team was playing really well, but he wasn't. You know, he played 66 minutes, and that was probably 66 minutes too long, in my opinion.
Fair play. Going back onto Arsenal's centre defensive mids, you've loaned out 2 of them this season. You've obviously Guendouzi, and you've loaned out Torreira. What's your opinion on what Arsenal should do when them 2 come back at the end of the season?
I think Torreira needs to be playing in the Arsenal team. I think he's a key player.
Do you have him next to Partey or rotation of Partey?
Next to Partey, I think. Because,
Next
Partey... Yeah, because personally I would play a 4-2-3-1 formation. And I would have those 2 as kind of your holding midfielders. Mm-hmm. Torreira maybe kind of both playing the same role, if you like, because Partey's certainly more of a physical presence, but Torreira is a little bit more of a chaser. You know, he'll chase people down, but he also will get forward. You know, he's a bit more box to box in that regard.
I rate him a lot. You know,
if you roll the credits there with box to box, he obviously, I don't think he's playing all that well, is he, this season with Atleti? But
no.
You know, he's. I don't think he's at that level. When you look at who he's got around him, you know, he's competing for minutes with Koke and Saul. He's not at that level.
Going back to your point quickly, you said you'd play him next to Partey. I read, I don't know how true it is, but I read an article or watched a video or listened to a podcast or something at the time that the transfer happened. And I heard that Simeone actually wanted to bring Torreira in to play next to Partey. And I think there's a rule over in Spain regarding transfers that you can, if the player has a buyout clause, you go to the hierarchy. So you go to the Spanish board and say, we're willing to pay this person's buyout clause, and the club have no say in it, obviously, because it's a buyout clause. And apparently that he brought Torreira in to play alongside Partey, and he was fuming when he realised that Partey was going back to Arsenal. So I think it could be a decent little partnership, and I would like to see it. So
I mean, I didn't know that, to be honest. I thought the reason Torreira went there was
as a replacement.
Part of the agreement of the sale was, okay, well, we'll have Torreira kind of to replace defensive or holding midfield player this season until we can sign somebody probably better.
Yeah.
So it's interesting that you say that. I didn't know that was.
It might not be true, but I'm sure it was a reliable source that I got the information from. But go to Guendouzi over in Germany now. How do you think he's performing, and what do you think his role will be, or what should Arsenal do with him when he comes back from his loan spell?
To be honest, I'm not really seeing much of what he's doing abroad. You know, he's playing in Germany, I think, isn't he, for BSC?
Hertha Berlin, yeah.
Yeah, a couple of years ago, I thought, you know, again, he's got that tenacity, that fight. You know, he'll get involved, he'll get stuck in, probably do a stupid foul every now and again, but he showed his hunger and his desire.
Oh, yeah.
However,
I can tell that by watching him.
Last season, you look at him, and he just looked content with being there, picking up a wage. It's a job, you know, it doesn't really matter.
Just like
But
working at Amazon.
but can you just blame him? No, you can't, because you look at majority of the players last season, probably all bar Aubameyang, and they all just looked, like they were happy to be picking up a wage, not really bothered, no real pride to be wearing the shirt, no
That's
real desire to be in
this
it.
pushes me to another thing which I did watch. It's about the kind of the London lifestyle, the London based clubs have. Like a lot of players just go to London for the, like I said, for the lifestyle. When they get the wages, so obviously Guendouzi got a bigger contract, Aubameyang bigger contract. When they get this high contract, they're living in London, they're playing for a London-based team. I think the London life can kind of get ahead of a few players, and obviously we've seen a lot of like the Arsenal players partying about and stuff. And I reckon sometimes it can be quite hard, especially when you're getting the wage come in and you come to a big city. London's one of the biggest cities in the world, and to come there's all the distractions of nightclubs. You've got the press everywhere. You feel quite big, and I think it's a point where, like, you get the fame and you get the money, and sometimes you're just like, well, I've done it now, I'm happy. Like, I'm at a big club, I'm getting a big wage. People don't see it as I don't need to perform as much anymore. Do you agree with this, or?
Well, it's long been a criticism, hasn't it, to the contracts that players get. People have different times called for contract caps, but I don't think. Well, that's certainly not going to happen, because all your top players will end up moving to PSG. So it's just not going to happen. But I think you could be right. The reason maybe we're seeing players flourish at the moment, such as in Arsenal anyway, such as like Emile and Bukayo Saka. Maybe it's because the nightclubs are all closed. I don't know.
It could be, yeah.
It could simply be something as silly as that. I would like to hope not.
And the wages, I think for them players, the wages aren't high as well, so they've got no real, like, they're still pushing to, obviously they're getting a good amount of money, and more than I'll ever be on. But it's not the levels of, like, the elite players. They can still push them. But there's like, when Aubameyang signed his contract, he was like, this is peak for me. I'm at a 27, 28. No contract I sign, I'll ever get more money than this. Whereas these younger players have still got that thrive, and I think it's a bad thing in football, because I think money's now becoming the push for everyone. Obviously, a lot of people don't play as much for the. I think that's the issue when the money comes in as well. I think especially when, all right, the higher the transfer fees go, and the higher the wages go, you're just starting to think there's no much further we can go, especially for a player of the age of Aubameyang. And I just feel like...
Well, I mean, Aubameyang's 31.
Oh, shit, yeah, he's even older than I thought he was, yeah. Like, he's not going to get... Like, he's on big money for the age. Not many players that age unless they're world-class. And I think he's a world-class player in his day. But that's it now. He's cruising now. He's going... how long's the deal? 3-4 years?
4 years, I think.
4 years. He's getting nearly 300k a week. That's it now. He's sorted. He can set a good saving up for when he's finished football. So... I feel like sometimes you can the players maybe look at it as like, well, I'm still going to play well, I'm still a class player, but I ain't going to push for it anymore. Like, when you know what I mean? Do you know what I'm trying to say?
Well, yeah, no, I get it. I mean, TalkSport reported that his contract was £375,000 a week.
That's a big contract, man.
It's one of the biggest in the Premier League. Does he deserve it? Absolutely, he deserves it.
Oh yeah, 100%.
And, has he took his foot off the gas? Yeah. However, if you look at it in the grand scheme of things, when he retires, if you look back at his career, if he carries on playing the way he's played in 2021, since the new year, if he carries on playing the way he's played next year and probably the year after, and then he's obviously going to decline and slow down as Father Time comes, as he gets into the twilight of his career.
Yep.
You look at the grand scheme of things, he would have had half a year where he didn't perform as well as he had done in all them other years. I mean, big deal. He's a top player.
Yeah, I just want to point out there that I think Aubameyang is a phenomenal player.
Yeah, Arsenal are very lucky to have him, because the position we would be in if we didn't have him is, well, I dread to think. I think we genuinely could have been in a relegation battle.
Definitely, mate. So we're going to quickly go back to the Guendouzi point. What do you think? What do you think's going to happen with him then? What do you suggest?
I think he'll probably end up getting sold. To be honest with you, apparently some sources, some newspapers were talking about Guendouzi and his attitude and how he doesn't particularly get on with people in the club.
He does seem a bit of a nuisance. I think the best way to put it is he does seem. I think he's got the arrogance of a young French player, exactly like Rabiot had over in PSG. I think these young French players have got a certain arrogance, and I think they are bad influences on the dressing room.
Yeah, I don't think he gets on with Mikel Arteta.
No.
It was quite obvious that when Arteta came in, he instantly kind of dropped Guendouzi and sent him out on loan. So I think he will end up getting sold. And he said it was in an interview with Goal.com, I think. He said that he was happy to leave Arsenal because he could now have fun playing.
Yep.
So I don't think there's any chance of him going back. To be honest with you, I think same kind of can be said with William Saliba.
Yeah.
Another exciting young player, but he's badmouthed the team, and I think again he was slagging off Arteta. So yeah, I don't think either of them have got a place in the Arsenal squad in the future.
Does seem like he's quite a positive member in the dressing room, though. Saliba likes to film videos, get everyone going.
Yeah.
What was that all about, man? Jesus Christ.
Yeah, I mean, has it actually been confirmed who it was in the video? I think
it's been confirmed because I think his price went up to max on FIFA. I think you know who it is, and it's not Kante, as Reece said. It's definitely not Kante.
No, I don't think it was Kante.
But no, it was a weird video. The thing with Saliba is, let's just forget the video ever happened. It was supposed to be like Arsenal's revival in defence. They signed him young, and he's supposed to be the player that came in and was the leader of the Arsenal defence and really turned it back into what they knew and what they knew best. But he's just not really took off, has he?
No. Again, he's 19. I think we can give him time. However, he won't. He won't get back in at Arsenal. I really do not think he will.
I think he loves France too much. I can see him staying in France personally.
Maybe. I mean, he made comments to the media that he'd been unfairly treated by Arteta. So, I don't think he's got a future at Arsenal.
No, I don't. One more loanee of Arsenal. I want to go on to Joe Willock. What's your opinion on him?
I'm a bit 50-50 with Willock. I think he's got kind of the potential to be someone like Bukayo Saka. He's obviously playing at Newcastle now. I haven't seen much of him since he's gone to Newcastle.
He had a really, really good debut for him.
I think he's played like 4 games.
The thing with Willock is, and I watched the match of the day for the game that he played, and they summed it up perfectly. Willock's one of them kind of midfield players that loves to make a late run into the box. He's a box-to-box midfield. He's not very good defensively, but he's not good enough attacking in the attack to be a sole number 10. He plays that kind of like second, third centre mid role, but he loves to make the late run into the box. And for Newcastle, he can make that well. And he did grab a goal in his debut for Newcastle. But I don't think he has a place in Arsenal. I don't think he fits the system very well, and I don't think he's good enough. I think he needs to permanently move to... I'd say he's good enough. Give him... I think what the ideal thing for him to do would be to move to a middle table club, like an Everton or something along them lines, and then get loaned out for a few seasons to the Championship, gain some experience, and I think he could really be a good middling club asset.
Yeah, brave calling Everton mid-table club at the minute. I think
just to go
I completely agree. Yeah, I completely agree. I'd say West Ham. Someone like that.
Again, they're doing well this season to be called a middling club.
Yeah, they are. Crystal Palace.
Yeah, we'll go Crystal
somewhere
Palace.
like
Yeah.
that. Crystal Palace.
We'll go for a Crystal
Yeah.
Palace, shall we? We're not put too
He,
much
yeah,
disrespect
I
in
think.
Everton and West Ham.
Yeah, he's got the capability to be a decent player, but he's not going to be a top player. He's certainly not going to be a top 6 club
Oh no, I don't
level
think he
player.
is.
Not even as a backup, because I don't think he can make the impact that he needs to make. He's physical wise, I think he's over 6 foot.
Yep.
So he can be a holding midfielder if that is going to be his preferred position, his suited position.
Mm-hmm.
He's not really been someone that I've paid all that much attention to be honest, because I've not seen him enough.
Yeah.
In 40 appearances for Arsenal, I think he scored 1 goal.
Yeah, it's not been great.
So,
Because I genuinely don't think he is the level. He's not at Arsenal level.
No, he's
I
not.
don't think he ever will be, personally.
In fact, I'm just looking at Joe Willock now, actually. I think the goal he scored was for Arsenal was in a FA Cup win over Nottingham Forest.
Yeah, was it?
Yeah, he got a tap-in.
Fair play. Let's touching on Forest here. Obviously, James Garner of United, he's gone over to Forest, a Championship team, and he's really looked good there. He scored against Derby. He's put some really good numbers up, and I think it's a move that younger Premier League players really need to take, like moving to the Championship, because it's a really good learning ground, especially for these younger players.
The thing is, the Championship, the English Championship, is a testing league. There's a lot of clubs. You play a lot of games. More than you do in the Prem. Definitely. And there's a lot of because there's not so many kind of there's not really any world-class players. Obviously, it's the Championship. So the level of talent in each position tends to be quite similar. So you're constantly competing for your place in the club, which is good. I think the person that starts the games should be the person that tries the hardest. That puts in the most effort. Not necessarily the best player on merit, the person who performs the best in training. And that goes for anything. So yeah, I think going to the right Championship club is a great move for a lot of young Premier League upstarts, if you like.
Definitely, mate. Definitely. So we've touched on Arsenal's season. We've looked at the highs, we've looked at the lows. But I want to get your prediction on where you think Arsenal are going to finish this season. They've scored 34 as of now, and they've conceded 27. Do you think that the defence is to blame, the attack's to blame, a bit of both? And yeah, where do you think Arsenal are going to finish this season?
I would like us to finish top 6. I think if you look at the Premier League right now, I'm pretty sure we're 10th. Yeah, we are. Aston Villa are 9th. Can we get ahead of Aston Villa? I'd like to hope so.
I mean, Tottenham are in 8th place, and you're only 2 points behind them.
Exactly.
And you're only 8. I say only. You're 8 points off top 4, so it's not. Yeah. It's not out of reach.
It's not a million miles away. No, it's not. I think I would like to. Finish 7th because and that doesn't sound high enough, but Leicester are obviously playing really, really well. All depends on what happens with them injury-wise, but they're 3rd at the moment.
Yeah.
Is there enough games for them to drop back to a point where we could overtake them? I don't know. Obviously, yet to be seen. But get ahead of Aston Villa, definitely. I think West Ham will drop out, and they will probably fall back down the table. And yeah, probably 7th place, maybe 6th place would be perfect. I think as long as we finish in a position that gives us some level of European football next season, I think we've got to be happy with that compared to where we started the year as well.
Would you be happy if Arsenal finished 8th or 9th, even 10th, but they did win the Europa League?
I wouldn't say I'd be happy. I'd be happier if we'd done that but won the Europa League than I would if we just finished 10th.
Yeah.
Which is obviously a possibility. But no, I think we've got to at the very least get in that top 8. At the very least,
Yeah.
Which is hard when there's a lot of good teams in the Premier League.
This has been one of the last few years. I don't know whether the quality has dropped off or the quality's increased, but there's a lot more teams are in contention for the top 6 place. You've got the likes of Villa, Everton, West Ham, now Leicester. They're all
exactly. I mean, it used to
breathing down
always
the
be
neck for the top 6 and top 4.
it always used to be the top 4, didn't it? Oh, you look at the top 4, the top 4. Now it's the top 6. In the next couple of years, it's going to be the top 8.
Yeah.
Is the aspiration?
Top 10.
Probably.
It's looking
exactly.
like it.
You look at 11th place. You got Leeds. What a team they've got at the minute, and what a manager.
Yeah.
Same with Wolves. Fantastic team with a great coach. Someone who's really, changed the philosophy at that club, and made it his own in Nuno Espirito Santo. Wolves need to keep hold of him for as long as they possibly can. I think not that long ago he signed a new contract. So
yeah, I think a lot of people are going to be saying, "Oh, look at Wolves this season, not doing near as good as they did last season." But you got to remember that I think Rowell Jimenez is such a crucial point of their team. Him coming out injured is just took the vocal point of that team was Jimenez. Get the ball to Jimenez. And fair enough, they've brought in William Jose in January, but again, he's not got time to adjust, and he's not the player that Jimenez is. He's a fantastic player over in Spain, but the English league is completely different to playing over in Spain. So he's not going to have the impact as Jimenez did.
Who, obviously, I know we're moving away from Arsenal, and we'll get back on track in a second, but I think the player that Wolves need to sell is Adama Traore.
Definitely. I think he hasn't looked as good this season.
Vastly overrated.
Yeah, he hasn't looked as good this season because I think his main source of assists came to Jimenez. I think he played the ball into Jimenez, run down the wing, pass it across. I think Jimenez was a crucial part of making him look better. But this season, he's got no goals, no assists. I think he is a very overrated player, and I think they do need to move him on. They've got some wingers in like Pedro Neto, Pedence. I think they're such better footballers than Traore is. And Traore was in talks of having a £60 million move to like the likes of Liverpool. Don't get me wrong,
I think he's still valued at that kind of level as well. His market value is still around 50 million. But if you look at this season in the Premier League, he's played 26 matches, scored 0, assisted 0.
I don't expect him to be getting the most goal. I know it's not been one of the most productive seasons that Wolves have had. But still, you've got to step up. If you're a player worth that much money, you've got to step up and be contributing to getting at least a few assists on that table. I don't expect the goals coming as a wide player, but you've got to get some assists in there. Come on.
Yeah, like I say, I think he's an overrated player, to be honest.
Definitely. So we'll go back to Arsenal, seeing as we are learning the club. Do you think Arsenal need to improve their attack, midfield, the defence? What do you think the main issue has been this season for them?
The key area, this season, was probably creativity from the middle. We seem to be sorting that out now by bringing in Martin Ødegaard and squeezing what we could out of Emile Smith-Rowe. And getting Saka involved, cutting into the middle more as well. So we do seem to be looking at that. The key area for Arsenal has been and will continue to be, by the looks of it, the defence.
Yep.
Gabriel, he's a good player. He ain't an answer to all our
He's not a Virgil van Dijk or Ruben Diaz. He's not coming in.
No, absolutely not. He's not going to come in and completely turn that defence around. No, he is he's a Joel Matip. He's the secondary option.
Yeah.
The main man needs to be somebody else. Stan Kroenke has got the money. Arsenal are one of the biggest earners in the Premier League. I think we charge the most when it comes to ticket prices.
Definitely.
Obviously, at the moment, we're not doing because you can't go watch a game. But I think we're still one of the top earners in the Prem. And now we've got rid of Ozil's contract. There's no excuse.
Nothing at all.
No excuse. We can go and sign, money-wise, pretty much whoever we want. it's obviously then up to the player whether they'd want to come to Arsenal. With quite an inexperienced team, a team that's been, substandard as of late, and an inexperienced manager as well. To try and convince somebody that will just look at what's happening on paper,
Yeah.
it's going to be quite difficult. But it's Arsenal. They're still a big name.
Definitely.
They're still a draw. And I think we can still command a big name signing at centre back.
I think a player that we do need to put some respect on, we haven't spoken about him once this whole episode, is Kieran Tierney.
Yeah, absolutely. Kieran Tierney was one of my career mode go-tos for the last few years. Playing FIFA career mode as Arsenal, one of the first players I ever signed was sell Kolasinac and bring in Kieran Tierney. Thankfully, Arsenal have actually done that in real life, which
I think it's a fantastic, especially for 25 mil as well. Like he's got he's got the leadership skills. Obviously, he's he's been captain for Scotland and captain for Celtic when he was there. I think he's what the team need. I think he's a fantastic player as well. He's looked really good going forward and is brilliant defensively. I think he's a really, really good left back for the team. I think a good thing, a point that's proved him well was it in the Benfica game when what was it? I think he said something bad, didn't he, about a player, and the mics picked it up. I can't exactly remember what it was, but I think just his arrogance and his kind of cockiness and leadership, and him just slating players in the opposition shows he's fighting for the badge. He really is an Arsenal player in and out, and I can't see him moving on at all.
Yeah, I think he came in off the bench, didn't he, in that Benfica game? I think we started Cedric Suarez, but yeah, he definitely is. He's the future captain of the club, in my opinion.
100%, especially with the likelihood of Aubameyang. He's in a few years, and I think he's done. I think Aubameyang's your best player, but I don't see him as your captain. I don't know what your opinions are on that.
Yeah, I'd kind of agree. The problem is, you look at the squad at the minute. Who else do you give it to?
Yeah.
Hopefully,
you can't give Tierney the captain when he's on the hospital bed 9/10 of the season.
Kieran Tierney was probably going to be the option for the future captain of the club. However, I think probably in the more intermediate time, Thomas Partey was someone that I wanted to kind of come in, take on that leadership role. Unfortunately, he's never suffered with injuries before he arrived at Arsenal. And since he's arrived, he's done nothing but suffer with injuries. Hopefully, that's not going to be a recurring issue, and you can move on from that.
Yeah, I really do want to see what Partey can bring to the Premier League. I think he's a class player. I think he's what United needed to sign. We brought in Van der Beek instead, the similar price. As good as I think Van der Beek is as a football player, I don't think he's what United needed. He's more of an attacking number 10. He's too good to be playing He's too good to be playing behind Bruno, obviously in rotation wise. He needs to be playing first team football, and we've been crying out for a genuine defensive midfielder that can support a Pogba who plays next to him in like a 4-2-3-1. We haven't got a proper defensive midfielder that we can rely on, so it means that Pogba can't push up and be his best. And for the same price, we could have brought in Partey, and Partey literally could have been the problem to our midfield woes, and he could have literally saved us and made us into such a better team than what Van der Beek's done. Yeah, I think Arsenal have done really well signing him.
I kind of agree. Absolutely. I kind of agree with what you say with United. However, they've got Scott McTominay, they've got Fred.
They're just not good enough.
These
That's the thing.
Players that were free.
Yeah, they're just.
McTominay obviously came for the academy.
Fred came in for 50 million, and don't get me wrong, he's turned this season. He's turned it around. He's been one of our best players.
He's playing better.
He's probably not living up to the 50 mil mark yet, and maybe he's took a long time to adjust. But yeah, he's looking good this season. But again, he's not 50 million worthy, and he's not the player that we need.
No, he never ever looked like a £50 million signing.
No, he was playing in Ukraine. You can't judge a £50 million player off them playing in Ukraine.
No, I think Matic has been kind of the that
rock.
position. He's been that rock, but he's in his 30s. I think what is he now? 33.
Yeah, his legs are gone soon.
Yeah, his legs are gone. He's slow.
Don't get me wrong. He comes in against some of the lower teams, and he still puts a shift in, mate. Bless him. He's still performing. He's like the Cavani. Like he does a good enough job. It's just we need someone younger who's gonna.
Well, he ain't going to answer the questions that you're going to ask of him, is he? He's not the future defensive midfielder for that team. He's just filling in.
Yeah. Until
you find the one that does. So I think if you compare Arsenal and Manchester United, the difficulties they've had the last few years, very, very similar.
Very similar.
The difference is United have
didn't waste
spent
80 million on Maguire.
Yeah. But, again, Maguire, he's actually been playing quite well this season. I think United have got one of the best defensive records. I think they've got the best defensive record against all the teams in the top 6.
Yeah, apart from when we conceded 6 to Spurs, but we won't talk about that.
Apart from that one, but I think overall, the top 6 clubs, they've got the best defensive record against. I mean, they've got the worst attacking record against them, but that's by the by.
That's the thing, right? United actually are one of the best defensive teams on paper in the league, but we make that many cock-ups that it's not a Premier League winning team. The thing with Maguire is it's a bit of a laughing stock. It should never have cost 80 mil. It's just the fact that he's English and he was in demand. He makes
in demand, English. He had a great World Cup.
Yep.
And
it's just more of a laughing stock. The fact that an 80 million pound player. And he's not the quality of that. He's not a Van Dijk. He costs more than Virgil van Dijk, who's arguably the best defender in the world, definitely in the Premier League. And it's just always going to be compared to, always. And he's never going to live up to it. He's never that quality. And he just makes too many mistakes that people pick out, and they're too noticeable for him to be a title-winning defender.
No, I agree. But you say that about, £8 million, Van Dijk is, 75 million?
Yeah.
If Liverpool were to sell Van Dijk now, he wouldn't be £75 million again, would he? He'd be like 150 million.
Yeah.
So...
But it's just... But it was literally in the space of like two seasons, was it, that Maguire signed? So it's not like it's the market's inflated that much. But I don't know. Yeah. We'll go back to Arsenal, shall we? Since we've gone off topic a little bit again. So we've touched across players from this season, and we've briefly touched across who you think the best player in Arsenal history is and who you think is Mr. Arsenal. But I want to get your opinion. It doesn't have to be the best player that's ever played for Arsenal, but who is your favourite player that's ever wore an Arsenal shirt?
My favourite ever Arsenal player? It's a difficult one. I adore Santi Cazorla.
Yeah, you can't hate him. That little smile he possesses, mate. You can't hate him.
A little magician on the ball, and I think to look at him as a guy and as a professional, what he did. He had the bad injuries on his ankles. I think it was. He had to have skin grafts.
It's bad,
he didn't play for a year or two. He lost, I think, 3 inches in height. He weren't big beforehand, so
I know.
He lost like 3 inches in height. He was told he'll never play football again, and now I think he's just been named. He's in the Saudi league, isn't he? I think he's just been named Player of the Season.
Won't surprise me because he's still a fantastic baller.
He
even played well for. Oh, where did he go? Villarreal.
Villarreal, that was it, yeah.
He had a phenomenal season. He was in the team of the season for that season. After all this injury wear and, like you said, skin grafts, you can tell he is a naturally gifted player.
Yeah, I think for me, he's probably my favourite Arsenal player, in my time as a fan. Either him, I would have said Alexis Sanchez, however, what happened, how he left.
Yeah.
It leaves a bit of taste in your mouth, so you
definitely.
can't say Sanchez. Same with Ozil, really.
Yeah.
You know. Also, Aaron Ramsey. Aaron Ramsey was a favourite of mine. I really liked Aaron Ramsey. I was a big fan of Koscielny. However, Koscielny certainly turned his back on the club.
Oh, 100%.
When he revealed himself to the Bordeaux fans. And obviously Ramsey refusing his contract and going to Juve for the money. So, yeah probably Santi Cazorla for me.
It's a great shout, mate. Great shout. I want to just get on to the last segment of the episode. It's a quick one. But where do you see Arsenal in 5 years?
Embarrassingly, in the same position they're in now.
Yeah.
I can't see us... 5 years ago, we were in this sort of position, looking promising, bringing in some signings. We brought in Aubameyang, I think, 5 years ago.
Yep.
We had Ozil and Sanchez. Things were looking great, looking promising, and then we regressed. I hope that doesn't happen, but it would not surprise me. We've certainly got a stronger all-round team now than we did then.
Yep.
But the key is Aubameyang and how long he can go on for, and then who we get to replace him, because that's all going to happen over the next 5 years.
Definitely.
We're going to have a replacement striker, because Lacazette will also be of an age where...
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Because I think he's 28, so, he'll be 33.
Yeah.
He won't be able to... He probably won't even be playing for the club in 5 years.
No, I don't think he will be.
Yeah, that's going to be the key, who we can get in the striker role. Eddie Nketiah certainly won't be the man.
No.
But there could be somebody else. We could see another young player come through the academy next year, and in 5 years' time could be the man. Definitely. You don't know what's around the corner. If you looked at like Marcus Rashford at United, he broke onto the scene when he was 16. Well, 12 months before that...
Yeah, we never thought he was a player who was going to be, true.
Same now, if you like, with Mason Greenwood.
Yeah, definitely.
So, a year and a half ago, who was Mason Greenwood?
Very true.
So, you don't know what's around the corner. But I do think in 5 years' time, Arsenal will probably be in a similar position that we are now. Hoping to get into the top 6, but just outside of it.
Fair play. So, if you are interested on the point we've just made on where do you think Arsenal will be in 5 years, make sure to stay tuned and subscribe to the channels, because Rebuilding Arsenal with Ben will be out in the near future. This episode will be talking about players we should probably sell for Arsenal, who we should bring in. We'll do a sim on Football Manager and a sim on FIFA to see where they predict Arsenal will be in 5 years. And then we'll be saying where we think they'll be if they make the signings to sell on the players we think. So make sure you stay tuned for that. I want to give a big thank you to Ben for coming on, mate. I appreciate it a lot.
It's an absolute pleasure. Thank you for having me on.
And I'm sure you'll be appearing in some episodes very soon. So again, thank you. So thank you for listening, everyone. Again, thank you, Ben, for coming on. And that is the end of the episode. Bye.